And welcome to News Round, a recap of stories in the week. I'm Teniola Shoboale. The headlines. Seven years after the kidnap of 279 schoolgirls from Chibok, Borno State, parents ask federal government to employ mercenaries to set them free. Acting Inspector General of Police meets senior officers, orders immediate disbandment of IDP monitoring units in Lagos and Port Harcourt. House Ad hoc Committee on Arms and Ammunition investigates arms purchase by the military, questions Chief of Army Staff. Plus, at least 20 children killed after being trapped in fire at a school in the Niger Republic. That's News Round in View. It's 7 years since the kidnap of 279 schoolgirls from the hostel in a Chibok community in Borno State. Although some of the girls escaped from their abductors while others were rescued, 112 others are still missing. Leaders of Chibok community in Abuja are now asking the federal government to enlist the help of foreigners to rescue their daughters.
Our girls back now and alive.
7 years after the kidnap of 276 girls from the government secondary school in Chibok, Borno State, 112 of them are still in captivity.
Mary Amos, Victoria Dauda, Sarah too.
112 girls means 112 grieving families. So far, 20 of the parents of the Chibok girls have died. Still living but traumatized by 7 years of not knowing the whereabouts of their daughter is Mr. and Mrs. Samuel. Their daughter Sarah is still in captivity. Parents of the kidnapped girls are accusing the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari of using them to come into power and abandoning them afterwards. Speakers at the event want the government to think outside the box.
I want to join my governor to call on the federal government to engage services of the foreign mercenary to bring peace to our people, because within 6 weeks, when Jonathan used these people, we were able to recover over 27 local governments. Then why? Had it been that these mercenaries were still there, our daughter could have been around by now.
It will not be the first time that a government speaks with terrorists, not directly, maybe indirectly, not necessarily in Nigeria or in the Zambeza forest, probably abroad, in a country that will host such a discussion.
The Bring Back Our Girls group wants closure in the return of the girls from captivity and disclosure of the reports of committees set up to investigate the kidnapping.
It is sad to say, ladies and gentlemen, that whether this committee was ever constituted or whether it worked or whether it submitted any report whatsoever is unknown to our movement and the citizens of Nigeria, and even worse, the parents of Chibok girls. Our movement continued to call for both reports to be published. Nothing was done.
Parents of the missing girls, Chibok community leaders of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign sat in this chair expressing 7 years of grief, of pain and abandonment. Are there avenues for negotiation with terrorists from the federal government? What has been done so far to bring those girls back? More questions than answers 7 years later. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
It appears a gradual restructuring of the Nigeria Police is underway as the Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has ordered the immediate disbandment of the satellite officers of the IGP monitoring unit in Lagos and Port Harcourt. The police chief also ordered the streamlining of the personnel profile unit at the force headquarters to not more than 50 persons. He made the changes during a meeting with senior police officers in Abuja.
This is the inaugural meeting of the Acting Inspector General of Police with all the senior police officers from the rank of Commissioners of Police and above. This strategic meeting gives the police chief an opportunity to review the strategies that would help in restoring order and public confidence.
More grounds need to be covered if we are to restore public confidence. I am confident that we can surmount this task, as the Nigeria Police is endowed with some of the finest, courageous, patriotic officers who have consistently demonstrated the capacity to step over institutional challenges to confront crimes.
He orders some reorganization in the force as a way of restoring professionalism and addressing citizens' concerns on rights abuse.
I have directed the immediate reform of the IGP monitoring unit, which is one of the major complaints I have received as soon as coming into office. This involved the disbandment of the satellite offices of the unit in Lagos and Port Harcourt, the streamlining of the personnel profile of the unit at the force headquarters to a number not more than 50, the banning of the unit from undertaking any criminal investigation, including taking over cases from commands. Under the current dispensation, the unit will only operate within their original mandate, which is to investigate complaints of professional infractions that may be alleged against any serving member and as may be referred to them by the Office of the Inspector General of Police.
The recent pattern of crime, which indicates an increasing threat to internal security, has been a major concern to both the security agencies and the public. Many in this hall are optimistic that the short and long-term strategies of the police chief would hopefully see an end to this trend as soon as possible.
More security matters. Investigation into arms purchase by the military may have created some tension between the House of Reps Ad hoc Committee on Arms and Ammunition and the Chief of Army Staff. Things took a downward turn when Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru refused to give details on a document which he had presented to the committee, insisting that the members should review the documents which he considered self-explanatory.
After an invitation and a summon, the Chief of Army Staff, General Atahiru Ibrahim, appears before the House Ad hoc Committee on Arms and Ammunition Control. The committee is reviewing the purchase, use and control of arms, ammunition and related hardware by military, paramilitary and other law enforcement agencies in Nigeria.
Trying to ensure
the Chief of Army Staff begins by explaining why he failed to honor previous invitations.
I was either in the Northeast or Southeastern Nigeria, or better still in the South, trying to ensure stability within Nigeria.
But the lawmakers want more than an explanation.
One would have expected that today that you are able to make this, honor this invitation, there would have been something that sounds like an apology for not being able to make it all along. What we have gotten is an explanation.
When you say I offered an explanation, it's as good as an apology. It only tells you the reason why I wasn't here, and the reasons are cogent enough.
When that dust settles, the committee asked the Chief of Army Staff to speak to the documents which he provided, but he declines.
Please, you have the floor. If you have this submission with you, so that you can brief us on it.
The submission before you speaks to the report before you. It is an executive summary. It is very self-explanatory to the extent that it has been periodized.
The Chief of Army Staff, who has barely settled into office, does not agree that he should be responsible for purchases which he did not make.
The period for which you wanted this report, having been summarized in the executive summary, explains whatever details you will require. Issues of procurement that you so demand to get to know were done by specific individuals. I would rather prefer you call these individuals to better explain to you very specific issues.
Your appointment, we congratulate your appointment, that is the well-deserved appointment. But when the parliament call you, it should be civil. When the parliament call you, you should respect the parliament and address the issue within the parliament. We know that those individuals that were holding those positions were holding it under you, even under your predecessor.
Of any investigation.
The lawmakers are also furious that the Chief of Army Staff has refused to follow its procedures and adopt the document which he presented.
What he has presented, he has presented to us an evidence, but he has to own it up, and it has to be on oath. And Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, it is not the Chief of Staff that will tell us how to do our job. It is wrong.
Fearing further escalation, journalists are excused and the meeting continues behind closed doors. About 45 minutes later, the meeting ends and the lawmakers say the Chief of Army Staff has agreed to provide them with necessary information. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
There was another matter of concern for the House of Representatives as its Committee on Judiciary is supporting the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, demanding financial autonomy. The lawmakers are appealing to state governors to obey the law in this regard.
The House of Representatives Committee on Judiciary has invited the leadership of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, for a sit-down, with the purpose of finding out the underlying reasons for the strike action embarked upon by the union on the 6th of April, and how the legislature can intervene to end the strike. In maintaining its stance on the industrial action, the union is furious that despite a verdict of the Federal High Court Abuja in January 2014, which held that financial autonomy for the judiciary is a constitutional provision that must be complied with by the executive branch of government, and the Executive Order 10 signed by President Muhammadu Buhari, which seeks to enforce financial autonomy for the judiciary and legislature in states, no changes have been made.
We have given earlier notice to the appropriate authority to do something, but it looks as if we are not being taken seriously.
A common man will breach the law and will dance to a tune, and then somebody in authority, as a governor, who swears in with the book he believed in, that he will protect the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he will go back to select what is what he wanted to obey, and the section that he will disobey.
But the lawmakers are questioning whether the federal courts should be involved in the strike.
Is it correct that there has been some level of compliance by the federal government as well as by some states, some of the states in the federation?
From the federal, there is compliance, but no state, no one can come in here to say that any state is complying.
Continue your strike, but as it relates to those who have refused to comply.
The committee pledges support for financial autonomy of the judiciary, but wants the fight taken to the states.
Now that the federal government has complied to your demands, why not leave this the strike and channel it to the state government? Every state you go on strike until the things what you are demanding are done. That is what I think.
I want to appeal to the Governors Forum to please engage Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria and to make sure that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the ground norm upon which we derive all our powers, is complied with by the governors, to make sure that we have the financial autonomy not only for the state legislatures, but equally for the judiciary at the state level.
State governors are opposed to the executive order signed by the president. Jusun is worried about this development and says it will continue its nationwide strike. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
When News Round returns in just a moment, at least 20 children killed after being trapped in fire at a school in the Niger Republic. Please stay with us. The federal government is reassuring citizens who have concerns over the possible side effects of the Oxford-AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine that there is no cause for alarm as the vaccine remains safe. The executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says over 1 million Nigerians have been vaccinated so far with minimal side effects.
Since the vaccine rollout in Nigeria a month ago, over 1 million Nigerians have been vaccinated, and the country has recorded no cases of blood clots. There are, however, over 8,000 cases of adverse effects following the immunization. A fact the executive director of Nigeria's primary healthcare agency insists should not scare Nigerians from taking the vaccine.
I categorized them into those that were mild. There are about 8,439 of these across the country. And then there are those that are moderate to severe, that are about 52. All of them are adverse events following immunization. We should also recognize that there are different background rates when it comes to the incidence of blood clotting. So typically, what the literature shows is that Africans are less likely to experience blood clotting disorders, right, compared to Caucasians.
To get the vaccination.
The country director of the World Health Organization commends Nigeria for their early vaccine rollout, noting that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine far outweigh the risks. He also addresses vaccine hoarding by some countries.
The WHO is currently engaged with the G7 and G20 to try and increase pressure on those countries who are holding the vaccine, so that they could redistribute the doses and make them available through the COVAX mechanism or through bilateral agreement to countries that need them the most. WHO is also engaging the manufacturers for technology transfer so that we could have more sites that could manufacture vaccine in order to scale up production.
5 states have the highest records of the adverse effects following immunization in Nigeria. Kaduna has the highest with 970 cases, followed by Cross River State with 859 cases. Yobe is next with 541 cases. Kebbi has 511 cases, while Lagos has 448 cases. For those who've taken the first jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine, the eligibility period for the second dose of the vaccine has been reviewed from 12 weeks to between 8 to 12 weeks. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has flagged off the construction of the 37-kilometer Red Line project, which is expected to commute about 500,000 passengers daily. Governor Sanwo-Olu says the rail project speaks of the realization of the intermodal transportation system, and the first phase, which is the Red Line, will come from Oyibo to Agbado to link the Lagos-Ibadan modernization project.
Road connectivity is a major issue in Lagos State, with the attendant gridlock, which most times leave people spending hours to their destinations. The plan towards improving the mode of transportation in Lagos is why Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is here to flag off the construction of the 37-kilometer rail mass transit, the Red Line project.
As he performs the groundbreaking for the Red Line, it is a 37-kilometer rail route from Marina to Agbado.
The first phase of the project is a 28-kilometer stretch all the way to Agbado on a dedicated lane which will end at the Oyingbo terminal.
The Red Line project will provide public transportation for no less, and this is just the first phase, than 500,000 passengers per day in the first phase, increasing to circa 1 million passengers per day once the full project is completed.
This Red Line project speaks to the first pillar of Governor Sanwo-Olu's team's agenda, traffic management and transportation. And he says the project will be delivered by end of 2022.
The Red Line, which would share track with the Lagos-Ibadan Railway Modernization Project, whose implementation starts here today, is divided into two phases. The Red Line is a 37-kilometer railroad with 12 proposed stations. The first phase, which will cover from Oyingbo to Agbado with 9 stations. 3 of the stations will be constructed within the Lagos-Ibadan rail corridor by the federal government. We project that the Red Line will move the first set of passengers, by the grace of God, within the last quarter of the year 2022. In addition, we are simultaneously working on bringing the phase 1 of our Blue Line to passenger operation also within the same time frame.
Over 200 properties are to give way to this project, and the state government present checks to the affected persons. The Lagos Mass Transit Rail began in 1983 during the late Alhaji Lateef Jakonde administration, and Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says is determined to complete the blue and red line that will make Lagos livable as a modern megacity. Titilayo Aberewo, Channels Television News.
News round now. We go on the foreign scene, coming from Niger Republic, where at least 20 school children died after their classrooms caught fire in the capital, Niamey. The inferno began near the entrance of the school, spread into 21 classrooms that were built with straw, trapping the children inside. And now finally, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, has been interred in the Royal Vault of St. George's Chapel following a brief funeral attended strictly by members of the royal family. Only 30 people were in attendance. And that's News Round this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shoboale. Bye for now.